There's one last way that we're going to look at the nonlinear relationship between under 5 mortality and GNP per capita. This analysis will be based on the use of a dummy variable. The dummy variable, which we will put here, will be called high GNP, and I will use an equal if statement to say that if GNP is greater than 1500, the value of high GNP will be 1. Otherwise, it will be 0. When I hit enter, I get a 0 for Niger. I'll double left click that variable down, and if we look down, we can see that here is a 1, here is a 1, here is a 1, and so on. Now, we've already looked at the effect of using a dummy variable by itself, and essentially it creates two parallel lines. So we're going to also add another column and put the interaction between GNP and high GNP, and we'll call this GNP inter for interaction. And this will be equal to GNP times high GNP. And when this is clicked all the way down, we can look down the column and see that we have the actual value of GNP here and here and here and so on, wherever high GNP is a 1. Now, the regression analysis we will use to predict under 5 mortality will include all three of these variables: GNP, high GNP, and GNP interaction. So again, I'll go to Tools, Data Analysis. We'll choose Regression. OK. The Y input range will be under 5 mortality. This is Control Shift down arrow. The X input range will include 3 variables. They will be GNP, high GNP, and GNP interaction. Again, Control Shift down arrow. There are labels in the first row, and we will put the output in G1. When I say OK, this is the result. We have 59% of the variance accounted for, which is less than the 66% accounted for when we use both the log of GNP and the log of under 5 mortality, but this is still a fairly high proportion of the variance. Here are the coefficients for GNP, which is negative, the coefficient for high GNP, which is also negative, and the coefficient for GNP interaction, which is positive. If we look at the p-values for each of the coefficients, they are very small, indicating that all of the coefficients can be considered different from 0. Now that we have carried out the analysis, let's see what the result looks like in a graph form. I'm going to put U5 mort here, predicted, and it will be equal to GNP times the coefficient for GNP fixed with an F4 plus high GNP times the coefficient for high GNP fixed with an F4 plus the GNP interaction times the coefficient for the GNP interaction fixed with an F4 plus the intercept, again fixed with an F4. And when I hit enter, I get the first predicted under 5 mortality, and I'll reformat that to a number. So this is the predicted under 5 mortality. If I double left click that, I get the predicted value for each country. Now let's look at the graph that we will create using GNP as the predictor, only GNP, and under 5 mortality and the predicted value of under 5 mortality. I will Control-Shift down arrow to highlight GNP, then I'll press Control, highlight under 5 mortality and the predicted value of under 5 mortality. While I'm holding down Control, I'll depress Shift and down arrow, and now I've highlighted all of the data that will be used in the chart. I'll go to the chart wizard, select XY scatter chart, finish that chart, and drag it over here where we can look at it. And I'll just pull it down a little bit to make it more obvious. Now you can see that we have the data, which are the blue dots. We also have 2 straight lines. One straight line representing the relationship between under 5 mortality and GNP for countries less than $1,500 per capita GNP. We have another straight line represented by these pink dots for countries with GNP per capita greater than $1,500. This is the effect of using the high GNP dummy variable and the interaction between GNP and the high GNP dummy to predict under 5 mortality.